Hi, welcome back to Tendoc Talks about the Power Rangers role-playing game. This is going to be part 2 of the Power Rangers boxed adventure, Glutton for Punishment. If you haven't watched part 1, I highly recommend you do that, because we're going to pick up exactly where that one left off. You talk to Farmer Sorik about his transforming pig and find out that he received a special kind of mega feed that he fed to his animals. Or maybe you didn't find that out. It depends on how well you question the farmer. But either way, the farmer is going to get a phone call from his frantic daughter in Angel Grove University. You don't know what's going on, but she's in an absolute panic, and Farmer Sorik wants you to go check it out. Just a reminder, you cannot call Zordon or Alpha, because they will not respond. The adventure stipulates that they are out of commission, because they're underground getting the Zords ready. I'm not sure why they want you to not contact Zordon or Alpha. I think it might just be because they want you to figure out the mystery on your own, or at least give you a chance to. And if your players don't figure it out, there is an opportunity later where it's explicitly told to you, so don't worry about it. You need to find some way to get to Angel Grove University, and you can't teleport. Farmer Sorik offers to give you a ride, or if maybe one of your characters has a contact that they can make use of, like I know the Black Ranger has some special abilities where he knows people, and those people can help him out at like an increased bonus if he rolls well. So you might be able to work it that angle somehow. At any rate, once you get to Angel Grove University, you're supposed to notice that it's about a 7-story building. If there's students going this way and that way, you have an opportunity to notice that there's something going on the roof. And since you're a Power Ranger, you could just go straight to the roof, either by a series... Well, I don't think you can jump that far, but you can run up the stairwell. And the rules actually say that if you run from the ground level all the way up to the roof, that you're supposed to take a penalty for the first couple of rounds once you get there. But at any rate, whether or not you go straight to the roof or not, the adventure assumes you're going to go to Farmer Sorik's daughter's dorm. Her dorm, I think, is on the 3rd floor. So you go into the building, you go up to the 3rd floor, you go into the hallway where all of the dorm's doors are, and right before you get to her dorm, the door slams open and you see the body of this girl just slam into the opposite wall. This is not Farmer Sorik's daughter. This is her roommate. As soon as that happens, out come 2 putties. And there are 4 more putties inside. They were given the order to look for the mega feed or find out what happened to the mega feed that got eaten. Like, did it cause any transformations or whatever? Because what you're going to find out is that one of Rita's henchmen, Babu, developed a serum of sorts that causes wild growth in animals. And he put it inside of a bag of mega feed. And then he dropped off those bags of mega feed at Farmer Sorik's farm, and Farmer Sorik didn't question where the new feed bags came from. He just gave it to his animals, and they seemed to really, really like it. So in response to that, the putties were supposed to go and find out what the mega feed did to anybody, and so they're searching for the results of that experiment. But putties are not smart. So as soon as they don't find any evidence of the mega feed or Farmer Sorik's daughter, they start searching other people's dorms. So if you don't stop them here, they're going to start opening other people's doors and going in and ransacking the place. Now, here's the first issue in part 2 of this adventure. The putty stat block. It's different than the one in the core rulebook, and not just different, it's different in a way that causes some negative impacts on the rules. So, the putty, looking at a monster stat block is a little bit frustrating because they don't show you their essence points natively. It doesn't say they have this much strength, speed, smarts, and social. All it shows you is their defenses: toughness, evasion, cleverness, and willpower. You have to deduce what their essence is by subtracting 10. And in the core rulebook, putties have a 13 toughness and an 11 everything else, meaning they have a 3 strength, a 1 speed, a 1 smarts, and a 1 social. This has an impact on the game, actually, because if you recall, things with a speed of 1 only get 1 action per turn, either a move or a standard action. You know, once you get 2 speed, you can do a move and a standard, and anything after 2 gives you an additional free action that can be spent to do free action things, or to increase your movement speed by 5 per free action that you spend. Even the putties in the book have the issue of, because they only have 1 speed, you can kite a putty forever. Meaning you can run up, attack them, you can attack them, run backwards, and then it's their turn, and all they can do is walk up to you, and their turn is over. Then you can attack them, run backwards, and then the putty has to walk up to you again. You can do that forever, and you will never ever be damaged by a putty. Even if you're surrounded, as long as there is 1 square open, you can walk away, and there is nothing any of them can do about it. They don't have a ranged attack. I suppose they could improvise one, but they do it at disadvantage. So, putties are extremely easy to avoid. But them being in close quarters helps a little bit. You don't get a battle map of the dorm. And since I didn't bring it up, you didn't even get a battle map of the Pudgy Pig fight or the fair. I guess they figured it didn't really matter what things looked like. You were supposed to think of it just theater of the mind. So there's no battle map of the dorm. You kind of just have to assume it's probably not very big, right? So you could surround the Rangers in a way that made their movement speed less of a big deal. But here's the problem I was referencing in the very beginning, right, of this rant. The putties in Glutton for Punishment have different stats. They have toughness 13, that stayed the same, but they have evasion, willpower, and social 10. That means they have speed 0. And they also would have cleverness 0, so speed 0, intelligence, smarts 0, and social 0. Right, it's the 4 S's, sorry. According to the rules, someone with a 0 speed is basically comatose and helpless. Meaning all 6 of these putties should just be on the ground, writhing. Now you could say, but Tenduck, according to the threat FAQ, they don't use the same rules as players. All of them, all the way up to this point, have. This is the first time I've seen a departure from the rules this big. And the fact that there are 2 different forms of base putty, I think the one in the core rulebook is correct, and the one in Glutton and Punishment is just wrong. It could be a typo, maybe, like some kind of find and replace function that did too much, or these things were kind of designed together, but also separate, so Glutton for Punishment was being compiled as the core rulebook was being compiled, and one team wasn't talking to the other team, or one guy wasn't talking to another guy. Honestly, I think it's just a mistake. Their list of skills are different too. The core rulebook has more skills for the putties. Anyway, defeating the putties is not going to be very difficult for you. There's a good chance none of you even take damage, but after the putties are defeated, the roommate gets up, right? And the roommate is going to tell you, oh, Farmer Sorik's daughter, right? She's a science student here, specializing in either chemistry or biology, and she was doing an experiment on the roof. You should go help her. Who knows what's happening? But then the book does something kind of cool. It's like, it says if there's a Black Ranger in your party, the roommate wants to take a picture with them because they're the coolest. And I think that's really awesome that they're trying to incorporate the fact that you are superheroes. People know who you are, and they want to be in pictures with you and stuff. Another reason why this probably should not be your first adventure, because otherwise that part, it doesn't make sense that would happen. Anyway, you get to the top floor. You go to the roof. Now, there is a battle map of the roof, which is strange because there's really only two things to note. The fact that there's an edge, and that there's a chicken coop. When you get onto the roof, the chicken coop, inside the chicken coop is Farmer Sorik's daughter and one or two other students. And standing on top of the chicken coop is the chunky chicken. If you know from Power Rangers lore, or if you've picked up the core rule book at all, the chunky chicken is this giant like rooster with shears. Although it says specifically in the book that he does not have the shears and he can't use his grid teleportation powers, right? But so the chunky chicken is on top of the chicken coop going, more feed, give me more feed, and like just generally harassing everybody there. And he's so hungry and angry that the moment you get on the roof, it attacks. Now, it has a special charging ability. And if it hits you, it pushes you off of the roof. It's a 7-story fall, and even though you're a Power Ranger, you're still going to take damage from this. But this is another moment where Clancy shows up. If you recall, Clancy the ostrich that you met in the first part. If Clancy hates you, he lets you fall, hit the ground, take your damage, and then he attacks you, which I don't think does damage. It's just insult to injury, and then leaves. If he's neutral toward you, he lets you fall, and then leaves. If he likes you, or if you're in the tribe of Clancy, he will actually catch you. You will take a reduced amount of damage, and he will jump you, run you, it doesn't really matter. He'll get you back to the roof in one turn, instead of taking 2 or 3. So he gets you back to the roof, like, immediately. I don't remember if he takes part in the fight or not, but he at least gets you from the ground to the roof. It would be a real shame if none of your characters ever fell off the roof to find this out. And that's another problem that this adventure has, because it assumes that the chunky chicken is at least going to be able to do this to one of you. If you don't, it might make sense to just have Clancy show up on the roof somehow. Anyway, after you defeat the chunky chicken, it turns back into a regular chicken. And then you talk to Farmer Sorik's daughter, and she's supposed to tell you that the mega feed, she's supposed to tell you about the feed that showed up on her farm that her dad used, and she's supposed to be the one that lets you know, okay, it was, the rooster just ate all the feed before any of the other chickens could, and he grew fast, and it wasn't until today when I took him out onto the roof and the sun was shining that he transformed into this monster. And then she's supposed to say something like, oh no, what about the other animals at the farm? We better go to the farm and make sure everything is okay. Because that's going to lead into the third part of the adventure. And the third part of the adventure is finally where you get to contact Zordon and Alpha 5. But we will get to that in the next part. Stay tuned for more.